So the All Blacks are set to announce their Rugby Championship squad on Sunday. There are a lot of questions that need answered. Definitely in certain positions, the squad will be extended from 32 men that was announced for the July internationals to now 36. So 4 more players being brought in. We are going to be doing our prediction in this video to see how close we can get to the All Blacks squad. But we will start with the props. Now, I don't think we will see any surprises really in the props. I know that there were a few injuries, such as someone like Xavier Numia, but I don't think he's back yet. Otherwise, maybe there could have been a bit of a shake-up in the proper department. But I believe, once again, they will be going with Ethan de Groot, Tyrell Lomax, Fletcher Null, Basilio Tosi, who was a new cap for the July Internationals, has got his debut, though, up against the Fijians, Ofa Tuangafasi, and also Tamaiti Williams. I feel like everyone who was in that prop and department, when they got the opportunity, did have a solid enough performance to stick with them, give them more game time. I'm curious to see if for the Rugby Championship, though, it is going to be the Ethan de Groot and Tyrell Lomax combo, or whether they do try and mix it up a little bit, have maybe a Basilio Tosi get himself the start. I know that he was absolutely phenomenal in the game up against Fiji in terms of his running game, not just in the scrums. So perhaps that's something they could look at in the future. In the hookers, they will once again be going with the 3. I believe it will be unchanged from what we did see last time. Asafa Moore, Cody Taylor, and then also George Bell. He was the same, got his debut up against the Fijians. Now, there is always the chance that if Samisoni Taukei'aho is closer to returning from injury, maybe he does get added into the squad, possibly to replace George Bell, I would say, is the one that would give way. But the problem is, there are so many injuries at the moment. It is very hard to keep track of who is injured and for how long. So there is a chance that some guys could be close to returning for this Rugby Championship, and one in particular we will have later on. In our squad in the locks, this is where I believe that they can't go with 3 like they did for the July Internationals. They will need that extra locking option, and I feel like from that performance up against the Fijians, they have found him in Sam Derry. But also in the locks, I have got Scott Barrett, Tupavai, and Patrick Tuipulotu. Now, Tuipulotu did sit out that last game up against Fiji. That was just to rest and recover a little bit more. It brought in the debutant, Sam Derry. He was already training with the squad, so it makes perfect sense that he would now be added in now that it is an extended Rugby Championship team. In the loose forward trio, I've got Ethan Blackadder, Samapeni Finau, Luke Jacobson, Dalton Papali'i, Ardie Savia, Wallace Satiti, and Sam Cane as the prediction. It has been rumoured that that man will be making his return. He's been training with the squad very similar to Sam Derry. So the Sams have been getting the work in off the field. And at the moment, I know that it's heavily debated, but who is the All Blacks number 7 at the moment? Is it Dalton Papali'i? He had a couple decent games up against England, but did he have a good enough performance to lock himself in as the number 7? Is it going to be Ethan Blackadder that the coaches decide will be that number 7? Or is it going to be the veteran, Sam Cane, and what could be his last year for the All Blacks? The problem you've got with Sam Cane is what happens next year. If you give him the start now and he does well, that is all well and good. But then what happens when you need to replace him for next season? And also what happens if Sam Cane picks up an injury? These are all questions that will need to be answered, but I do believe that they will put Sam Cane in their squad. I know that it's going to split opinions. I know it's going to cause controversy. Is Sam Cane going to take over the captaincy from Scott Barrett? We just don't really know, but it seems about 90% confirmed that Cane will be back in the Rugby Championship squad. In terms of the other players, Samapeni Finau and Luke Jacobson, I believe they are the 2 jockeying for that 6th jersey at the moment. After last game, I would say that I would give it to Jacobson throughout a majority of the Rugby Championship. Wallace Satiti, that man is going to be a superstar for the All Blacks. The only problem he's got is the fact that there is a man by the name of Ardie Savia who currently has that number 8 jersey pretty well on lock. But if anyone is trying to break through that lock at the moment, it is that man, Wallace Satiti. But moving on to the halfbacks. Now, there has been a fair share of injuries for the ABs in this position. We saw Cortez Ratama injured in that last game up against Fiji. We saw TJ Perenara injured in the first game up against England. Cam Roigard, he is currently injured and will not be back for the Rugby Championship. They were having to dig deep into their stocks. That is where we saw Noah Hotham get himself his debut. But I've gone back to the three that they had at the start of the July international squad naming, which is Finlay Christie, TJ Perenara, and also Cortez Ratama. Now, is this what I would go with? Probably not. I feel like Noah Hotham, after that performance in his last game, he looked like he had a lot of potential, and I'd love to see him get the chance in this All Black squad. But I do believe that they will go with the same three. I do believe also, though, that Noah Hotham will continue to train with the squad. I feel like that will be massive experience for him. That could actually happen for George Bell if Taukei'aho was going to be back from his injury. Maybe they just keep those young Crusaders around the camp and keep them training with the ABs. But now moving on to the fly halves. Now at the moment, there are only two for the ABs, and I believe that it's a pretty tricky predicament at the moment for the All Blacks, because you look at Damian McKenzie, and he started every game for the All Blacks so far throughout 2024. Yes, it's only 3, but in a Rugby Championship competition, is he going to be able to start all 6? Or do they need someone else there? Has Beauden Barrett confirmed himself more as a 15 after the way that he's been playing than a fly half? And if so, who is your backup 10? Could someone like a Harry Plummer make their way into the side perhaps to cover that 10 role? I don't see them pulling the trigger on it, so instead I am going to say that they will go with Damian McKenzie and once again Beauden Barrett. Now they have got the backup option of Stephen Perofeta as well. He has got a bit of fly half experience, plus if I'm adding an extra outside back, it means that more than likely Perofeta, worst comes to worst, can go to that fly half role. Damian McKenzie has been criticised a lot for what he's done in the All Black jersey throughout those first 3 tests, but the man has some very strong attack. And once the goal kicking came right up against the Fijians, that was where we saw McKenzie's confidence a little bit higher. And I do feel like he had a better game up against Fiji than Beauden Barrett, whereas the game prior up against England, you would say that Barrett had the better game than Damian McKenzie. But now we move on to the centres. This is a pretty tricky situation for the All Blacks because they have got an out-of-form 13 who was shown up by not just the 12 but the 13 in the game up against Fiji. They've also got someone who's been training with the squad all throughout July, and I do believe they will bring him into the squad for the Rugby Championship. And I'm talking about David Havili. Now, throughout Super Rugby, he was out of form. He wasn't having his best season. They tried him at fly half. That didn't really work. Probably cost the Crusaders more games than he won them for the season. If it was up to me and you were bringing in an extra centre, I would 100% take Quinn Tupaia, but I believe with Razor being coach and also with Havili already training with the squad, he will be the player that they do decide to bring in. And alongside him, it would be Jordie Barrett, Rieko Ioane, Anton Lienert-Brown, and Billy Proctor. Now, I'll be honest, I'd even bring in Quinn Tupaia over Rieko Ioane based off current form, but eventually Ioane surely is going to find that form again and be a dangerous number 13. Overall for the All Blacks, they couldn't have got much more from Billy Proctor on his debut. He was solid out there on the park. Anton Lienert-Brown, he has continued his form from Super Rugby Pacific, and that was the good thing about the game up against Fiji. We got to see the guys who were in form throughout Super Rugby then get the chance to continue their form and show that they still had it, and 90% of them continued that form that they already had. So hopefully, throughout the Rugby Championship, maybe we see a different combination. Yes, Jordie Barrett and Rieko Ioane has worked before, but maybe it's time for a little bit of a change in that centre pairing. But moving on to the outside backs, I've once again got Caleb Clarke. I thought that he was very strong in that game up against the Fijians. I would also have him as my starting 11 for the All Blacks. But of course, once the squad is announced, we will have a separate video where we do give our starting XV. Moni Narawa, Stephen Perofeta, Sevu Reece, Mark Talia, and this is where I've also added Will Jordan. There are rumours going around that that man is going to be ready for the Rugby Championship. Maybe not the first match or the second, but eventually Will Jordan will be back for the All Blacks, and then that is where the headache really starts for the ABs, because does Jordan end up as your starting 15? And if so, where does Perofeta find himself in the pecking order. Could Jordan play out on the wing again, like we saw under Ian Foster? I don't see Robertson doing it that way, but someone may have to give up their spot so that Will Jordan can get his back, and I'm very curious to see who it is that they decide to take out. But nonetheless, that is my All Blacks squad prediction. Like I mentioned, it is going to be announced on Sunday. We will be doing the announcement on the channel, so if you are new, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know your All Blacks squad predictions in the comments down below. Do you think we're going to see any bolters? Can we see someone like a Peter Lakai, Braden Yossi, Hoskins Satutu? Does that man's name get thrown in the hat? Or will it be relatively similar to what they have already done throughout the July internationals and just extending on what has already been a good start for Scott Robertson? Just as a little bonus at the end of this video, my mum is going to give you her 4 players that she would add in and also 1 that she would take out of the squad. But Mumsy, it is great to see you.
Right, my picks. I pick Peter who?
Lakai.
Lakai. I can never. Okay, Peter Lakai. So
this is her pick, by the way. I didn't force her to say his name. She just couldn't remember the last name.
Peter Lakai, Will Jordan, Harry Plummer. And I get rid of Christie and bring in Hotham. How's that?
Anything else you'd like to add about the All Blacks?
I don't know. I think we're missing something. That X factor.
Who is it?
Don't know. It might be Will Jordan, actually. Don't know. And get rid of Christie and pick Hotham. I'm just reading through the squad at the moment.
What do you have against Gingers?
Nothing against Gingers. He's f***ing hopeless. No, he's too slow. You know, he takes that step. Instead of off the ground, he takes that step, looks up. Rightio. See ya. Bye. But
nonetheless, thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you all for the next one.